The main conversation in Hyderabad right now is about HYDRAA, the Hyderabad Disaster Response and Asset Protection Agency. And over the last 6 weeks since they were constituted in the second week of July, HYDRAA has gone ahead with a spate of demolitions. Things really changed over the weekend when popular Telugu actor Nagarjuna's N Convention Center was demolished by HYDRAA. This was a move nobody saw coming, and with that, HYDRAA had started to grab national headlines. So what does this mean for the state of Telangana? What does this mean for Hyderabad? Is this a politically motivated move to just do away with structures and buildings owned by opposition parties and people not in favor with the government? We don't know. But these are some of the questions we hope to ask Mr. Ranganath himself. He's the commissioner of HYDRAA, and we at the News Minute are here to speak to him. What would you say is the difference between the Enforcement, Vigilance and Disaster Management Wing, which was there earlier, and it's been 6 weeks since HYDRAA was constituted? What would you say are the major differences between the two?
Yeah, EVDM, that's the Enforcement, Vigilance and Disaster Management. That was earlier an institution which was part of the GHMC.
Yes.
And it was headed by an officer of the rank of an SP, an young IPS officer, who will be reporting to the Commissioner GHMC, that is the Greater Hyderabad Municipal Corporation. Now, government, they have done away with this EVDM, and in place of this EVDM, they have constituted an institution called HYDRAA. So this has come into effect on 19th of July, 19th of July this year. And I was appointed as commissioner on 20th July. So now the basic difference is this is independent of GHMC, number one. And number two is the budget and the staffing and all also is independent of GHMC. So earlier as EVDM, they were part of the GHMC. It's like an integral part. You are like, one branch of the GHMC itself, where, checking activities of GHMC will not be an easy thing, right? So when you are part of an institution, it is going to be tough. You have come out of it and you are independent. And when your independence is there and your budget and your staffing, everything is taken care of, and the legal procedures are, you have all the legal powers and all, naturally you'll be in a better place to, check the activities of the GHMC or the HMD or for that matter, any civic institution, right?
Okay. No, but that is a structural change you're talking about, which is all well and good. But in implementation, in practice, how has it changed? Because we did not see as many demolitions of encroachments in comparison earlier. At least there wasn't as much reportage about it. Maybe there was the demolitions which happened earlier as well. So in practice, how has there been a difference in the last 6 weeks?
Yeah, in practice, HYDRAA, as you are aware, this is an acronym. HYDRAA stands for Hyderabad Disaster Response and Asset Protection Agency. Now, see, there are two basic elements in this. One is the disaster response and the other one is the asset protection. You cannot see both of them in silos, right? I mean, they both are interlinked actually. So, disaster management is linked to asset protection in the sense that the lakes are being encroached, the nalas are being encroached. In case you fail to protect the lakes from being encroached, or if the lakes shrink, then naturally the effect is on the disaster. It results in a disaster by way of flooding, by way of waterlogging. You have all these effects. So now many of the places in Hyderabad, even for a small amount of rainfall, like even 2 inches or 3 inches also, 2 centimeters or 3 centimeters also, you get them to be inundated. Yes. Or you get the whole traffic goes for a toss. Because of this, water, rain, the rain, there's a lot of waterlogging in the city of Hyderabad, and the traffic goes haywire, and many of the low-lying areas, they get submerged because, you don't have any place for the water to drain out.
Yes.
Basically, the lakes are all encroached upon. And we have done a study, in fact, NRSC, National Remote Sensing Center, they have done a study on the lakes. About 57 lakes, they have done a study in Hyderabad. And very, alarming, whatever the revelation which has come out is, out of these 56 or 57 lakes which they have done study in the last 44 years, that is between 79 to 2023, 60% of the lakes have been encroached. Okay, so which means that hardly about 40% of the lakes are left. Now, okay, the rate with which this encroachment is happening also has increased phenomenally in the last few years because the land rate has shot up phenomenally. Yeah. You find the land rates, everywhere. The square yard rate has shot up to lakhs, and many of the important places like Madhapur or Gachibowli, you find them to be 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs for square yard. Yes. And in places like Kukatpalli, you find them to be more than 1.5 lakh. So the local, you find that, many of the politicians or the, bureaucrats and the real estate, they are there's an unholy nexus between them. they are with impunity. They are just encroaching upon the lakes and the parks and the nalas and all. Because see, if I encroach onto a private land, for instance, I mean an individual, if he goes into, if a real estate person goes on encroaches on a private land, the other side will naturally keep complaining. But if you get onto some lake land, or if you're into government land, nobody is there. Nobody bothers over a lake, right? So that is the advantage which these people are taking, and it's a public asset and government asset, and nobody cares for it. And the local politician, he controls everybody, right? He controls the local administration, and he controls the local, the real estate, and they're all in hand in glove. And land is such a costly commodity. So it is, this is where I think the roots of the problem are. The asset disaster management, like whenever there's a rain, you try to see that the manholes and the drainages and whatever clogging and all is there. You try to see that their water is properly drained out. But the actual problem lies elsewhere, in the sense that where these the nalas that has to be, where this water has to drain out through the nalas, right? The nalas are encroached. I mean, you find the nalas to be shrunk. And yeah.
But is the main focus as of now on lake protection? We are not criticizing because it's only been 6 weeks and a lot of work has happened in the last 6 weeks. Like a lot of the state government has reported that so far 43.94 acres have been reclaimed because of HYDRAA's demolitions. And that's all well and good. But is the focus as of the moment only looking at lakes in the city, or are you also looking at other aspects of it?
See, the executive order, that is a GO, which has created HYDRAA, authorizes HYDRAA on few things. Number one is on the mainly government assets. Government assets are the lakes, the nalas, parks, and government lands and open spaces in the layouts. So these are the places. Now in this, first we have selected lakes, and next we'll have to move to the nalas also. First we have selected lakes because this is the most important thing. Supreme courts and high courts have been time and again, they have been issuing directions, and many of them environmentalists have gone to the courts, and Supreme Court has taken a very, very serious stand that you should protect the lakes from being further encroached, because this will have an impact for the generations to come. So next, if you don't stop these encroachments now, next 5 to 10 years you will not see any lake here in Hyderabad. So once the lakes disappear from this, topography of Hyderabad, then it is going to be a disaster, a real disaster actually. Now we have hardly about 20%, 30% lakes, and that too will dwindle, or that too will vanish in the next 20, 30, another 10 years also. Yeah.
So like for instance, but the main, I think HYDRAA's popularity, so to speak, really blew up when N Convention Center, owned by very popular actor Nagarjuna, was demolished. But he issued a statement right after the demolition. It was a busy day for the press. And one of the things he said was, we weren't issued any notice whatsoever. So this is in contravention to how demolitions are supposed to happen, no sir?
See, this is being going on for the last many years, and clearly N Convention is an unauthorized structure. Okay. And I've seen the press release also mentioning that it is a Patta land. Patta land, N Convention, I mean, they have the Patta land, and that's what he said. See, there are Patta lands in every, lake. They are called the Shikam, Shikam Pattas, right? Shikam Pattas are there. In the sense, what is the Shikam? Shikam is like, once the lake reaches a dead storage and there is hardly any water there, not much of water, then the lake which is actually dried up will be used for agriculture. So that Patta is given for only cultivation, that is for agriculture, not for raising the structures. The building rules of 2012 are very clear about raising structures in the Patta lands in respect of the lakes especially. Okay, so they might be having a Patta land, sure. And there was a dispute about the FTL also, and that was jointly served.
What about the notice?
Notices, yeah, we have issued notice. We have issued notice. Yeah, he said, there's no notice. We have followed the due process. We have issued notice. Definitely tomorrow in the court and all, we'll take it up. Yeah, sure.
So just one more thing about N Convention Center. The other thing is, it's hard to not notice the fact is, even with a cursory understanding of law, the demolition happened on a Saturday morning. Courts were shut, so the only option they were left with was to go for a house motion. So it was very clear. Was it a planned move to do it on a Saturday specifically?
Yeah, we have been doing on other days also. It's not that, it's
but that is the day they cannot approach the court.
Why? They have approached the court and got immediately. Yeah. House motion they moved and all. Yeah, courts do work, definitely, though it's a holiday for the courts, they can move house motions even on any day also. So they have moved it. And see, one thing is sure. If you see a normal Google image, the water, you can see the, that ripples or the waves of this, that lake touching the retaining wall of the N Convention. Similarly, in whatever Gandipet resorts and all, but still they claim that they are not in the lakes.
Right.
So you find the, for any, even if for a, normal person can make out that the structure has come up in the lakes. It's, everybody's knowledge there. And the, the water, you can see the waves splashing onto that, that retaining wall. But still, people keep claiming that it is not in the lake and they have all the documents and all. So that's how they're trying to manage and manipulate the systems and all. And now, of course, earlier also, the structures are totally unauthorized because no permission has been given by the GHMC. And why did they not get an authorization, or why did they not get the permission proper from the GHMC in case they are on the right side? They should have gone to the court and got a permission for that.
Right.
So why have they not got the permission there? Which means, and their application for the BRS also, that is, under the building regulation scheme also, was rejected. So which means that it's totally unauthorized. It is totally without a valid permission, but still they are somehow getting away with the thing. Okay. And we have seen there's no absolute stay there, and that's what we could once we have we try to get into the details. There was no stay per se on the structures and all. So we went ahead with demolition after following the due process.
Okay, so naturally, since this is a wing set up by the Congress government, it is unsurprising that there has been criticism from the opposition, and they've said that, listen, it's political. This is a political move. Discussing BRS working president KTR's Janavada farmhouse, for instance, or right after N Convention Center's demolition, Palla Rajeshwar Garu, who runs the Anurag Institute of Technology, he approached the High Court. He moved for a lunch motion and said this has to, my institute has to be protected from demolition. Like, there are countless examples from the BRS. AIMIM chief Asaduddin Owaisi has turned around and said that there is this HYDRAA as an institution doesn't have any legal standing. So it is hard to not look at all these things and ask you whether this is political or not, right?
See, it's in fact, yesterday we have submitted a report to the government. You find many of the structures that we have raised to the ground belong to the ruling party, right? So if you can see the data, so you find them to be from the Congress, right?
I can only think of Mr. Pallam Raju, who is in Andhra Pradesh, but firstly, he has no bearing in Telangana, but also he's a very senior politician who isn't as active politically as of the moment, right?
Right. Whose structure have you raised to the ground from TRS?
Fair enough, but
can you quote one structure of a TRS leader?
I'm not.
It's only the apprehension.
Okay.
Only the apprehension. So, if there is an apprehension, for instance, KTR Garu, he has gone to the High Court. Right. I think KTR Garu, or I think somebody from his so that Rajesh Garu or somebody, they have gone to the High Court. And they said that Janwada farmhouse is likely to be demolished by HYDRAA. Correct. But actually, Janwada farmhouse doesn't come under our jurisdiction at all. In the sense that, 111 we do not act on 111 structures. Right. So that was only an apprehension. So the apprehension is that, HYDRAA might, this thing, it's only apprehension. So I think I shouldn't answer for any apprehensions. I did not react to the apprehensions, right? So show me one TRS leader structure that has been demolished.
But you are one of the city's commissioners. So in that capacity, you are very comfortable saying that this has no standing whatsoever in a political capacity. There's no political action being taken against the opposition in any which way, correct?
No, it is impartial. See, that's what I am trying to do. We'll be impartial. In fact, we have booked cases on the ruling party also. Ruling party MLAs, we have booked case. And when they try to, come in the way of, removing of the encroachments, we have booked cases. So we are trying to be very, very impartial. And whether it is from the ruling party or from the opposition or from any other party, we do not, we go by the merits of the issue. Okay. It's not that, that because he's from the ruling party, we give an exemption to him. And since he's from the opposition, we are after him. It's not that way. So we have, till now, if you see, we have not demolished any opposition leader's structure, number one. And the demolition, whichever we have done, are from the ruling party only. Right. So that has to be taken into consideration, right?
Of course. So in this capacity, just a couple of more things I'll quickly ask you. But while we were talking earlier, you had spoken about how the serving of notices, but there is a certain power which the GHMC Act enables city commissioners with. Would you be comfortable talking about that and explaining what you mean?
Yeah, see, there is a section under 405, section 405 of the GHMC Act, which clearly mentions that without issuing notice also, you can remove the structures in respect of the encroachments that have come up in the roads, on the traffic encroachments, or even the encroachments permanent or the temporary which have come up in the tanks, in the wells. These are all tanks only, right? These are all the cherus, right?
Yeah,
these are the tanks, yeah. So you can straight go with, without giving a notice. In fact, yesterday I've seen BJP MP Raghunandan Garu also mentioning that there is a Supreme Court judgment which clearly says that he need not give any notices to the structures which are there in the FTL or the buffer zone. In fact, I am trying to get the copy of that also. But even the 405 GHMC Act also is clear that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, lastly, it's also very interesting because there is a defense coming from the BJP who was very heavily critical of you while you were the Warangal commissioner. But lastly, and most importantly, these are structures owned or run, if they're companies, by very privileged people. So that is, so far, the chief minister, you, the entire institution and the state government has been heavily praised for it, which is all well and good. How different is the approach going to be if you're looking at slum demolitions, if you're looking at places where marginalized people live? Is this going to be the exact same approach?
No, sure. I mean, because we need to have an human approach also in this, and our approach towards especially the structures that have come up. You have a lot of residential buildings that have come up in the FTL or the buffer zones way back, about 10 years back or 20 years back and all. So we are not after those structures at all. So we'll be definitely focusing mainly on the structures like big resorts or some commercial buildings that have come, or upcoming residential structures, apartments also. Any residential apartment which is under construction we'll have to go ahead with demolition.
Are you comfortable telling us which areas you're looking at or which companies you're looking at?
No, because I think, we have almost more than about 1,000, informations or the applications or, whatever public have shared. So we are getting into the inquiries into each and every, allegation of, construction in the FTL or the buffer zone. Once we make a proper inquiry, then we can act on that. So public are also, they are reacting and they are sharing a lot of information about the structures that are coming up in the buffer and in the FTL. So we need to do a proper inquiry before actually acting upon it.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. That was HYDRAA Commissioner AV Ranganath, and this story matters even beyond the fact that cinema actor Nagarjuna's and convention center was demolished. This is a very important story for the city of Hyderabad, and we will be in touch with the commissioner. We will be following up on whatever HYDRAA does, and it's just been 6 weeks in. Thank you so much for speaking to us, and please continue following the News Minute for further updates, and please don't forget to subscribe to us because stories like these make a huge difference to not just Hyderabad but all the states in southern India. Thank you.